This is PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. PopX is not affiliated with, nor endorsed by Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, DC Comics, or any other mentioned franchise or brand. The opinions expressed are of each individual, and solely do not reflect PopXcast. Sit back, relax, put on your Ninja Turtle onesie, and warm up your chimichangas. This is PopXcast. You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. PopXcast. PopXcast. Dan, the man, the manual himself. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
Oh, dude, I am doing really well. I'm a little sore. I've done a lot of power washing this week, and my back is a little out. So I'm like sitting here kind of on a cushion. So that way I'm like, not like straining. So if you see me do this during the podcast, it's not like, what is he doing? Is he letting one slip? No, I'm actually not.
Are you letting out a squeaker?
I did have, never mind. I was going to say I had Chipotle today, but that's none of your all's business. You know, I digress.
Things might get messy.
Yeah, I know. Lindsayism, that's your Joeism number one for the night. But Dan, how was your week? What's new in your world, dude?
Oh, just lots of busy things at work. Boss is going away for the week, so just like you, I'm pretty sore. And but I'm ready to get rolling with this history of comic books.
Yeah, are you ready to be educated just a little bit and maybe enlightened?
I would love to be educated.
Educated? We can
but just educate me.
But okay. But before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that we're so blessed and thankful that you guys tune in every week. And we want to let you guys know if you share this over, there's a little button over here on the left-hand side. If you're joining us live in the room, you can share this out on your Twitter and your social media feeds. Please do that. And so Dan, you're Dan Miller. How can they find you on the interwebs?
Well, it's pretty simple. I go by one name and one name only, and that is Stay on Target 42. You can find me everywhere.
Yes. Under
that name. It's great. You can also leave us maybe a 5-star rating at PopXcast on iTunes. That would be wonderful.
That would be swell.
Yeah, you know, we had a little contest where our own Red 5 mom in the chat here was the winner of, because she is just the sweetest lady ever.
And your package is in the mail, Red 5 mom, so don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. But all right, guys, we hope you enjoyed last week's show. We kind of did a breakdown. It was kind of one of those moments where Dan and I was like, we really don't want to do this. We really don't want to pick apart something we're so passionate about, but we kind of had to. There were some flaws, there were some things, but there were some really great moments in Batman versus Superman. So if you missed episode 9, go on over to iTunes, download it, or Google Play, and download it, check it out, listen, and let us know what you think and drop us a line, okay? We'd love to hear some comments and some feedback from you. But Dan, we just launched something kind of cool just today. And I don't know if a lot of fans know about this. Can you tell me a little bit about the playlist?
Yeah, so if you guys join up on Spotify, which I'm actually pretty new to as well, you guys can actually get a hold of some PopX content right on Spotify.
Yeah.
So look us up, PopX, and you will find all of our episodes, and you can stream them right on your Spotify.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And so the music that we play before the show, sometimes I get asked, well, what was that song you were playing before you came on camera, or right before the countdown, or what was that song, or what's this song? And it kind of got me thinking, well, why not make a playlist and just share it on our website? And if people want to listen to it, they can subscribe and kind of follow along. And Dan, you can add to it as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. It's kind of an ongoing thing. But we are really, really going to dive into this tonight. And we're going to spend a little time. Then we're going to kind of actually let the fans who is in the room with us right now come in and share their experiences with us. And Dan, you and I will get to do that as well in the history of comic books. But so when you think of comics as a whole, and the beginning points, the founding stages of what is today the modern day comic book, what do you think? What comes to mind? Let's have a poll in the chat if we can. What major event do you think happened in American history that would spawn the revolution of the American comic book? Now, I'm just curious. We'll have a little. World War II that's close. You're close. Go back about 4 years. Exactly. The Great Depression. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner, and that is Next Big Thing Radio over there, Mr. Brett Strickler, hanging out with us tonight, live on PopX. So, yeah, the early 30s, it was difficult. There was a crash of the stock market in 1929. We all have read this in our history books. We know it pretty much like the back of our hand, or at least have read about it, wrote a paper about it in high school or in college. We know about it. And out of the run of the Depression, it was kind of, we got what we first had, well, basically the anti-hero. It was the first time we ever actually heard about people in the news doing bad things, but they became icons for doing the bad things that they were doing. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
totally.
So
everybody wanted to dress up in their best suit like they were going to church in Atlanta, you know, and they go rob a bank.
You see here, see, you dirty rat, you killed my brother, see.
I mean, bullets must have not costed anything, because they would take them and they would just, like, you know, stencil their name on the wall with a Tommy gun. I mean, that's how they got famous.
Anyway, I digress. I just been wanting to use that sound effect all day, but I finally got to do that. But yeah, I mean, you think of like Al Capone, one of the biggest mobsters coming out of Chicago.
That's Chicago. That's my city.
Shot-town, baby. I mean, he bootlegged all kinds of alcohol and liquor back in the day during the Prohibition, when it was illegal to drink. And of course, he got plastered all over the media at the time. Al Capone and his cronies have been captured again. Dun, dun, dun. And then, of course, you got the damsel and the man. This is the first dynamic anti-hero duo, Bonnie and Clyde, which is kind of like, that's all they did is just run around from town to town, like shooting up crap, robbing banks, and just raising all kinds of cane, which is crazy. And so Hollywood caught on to that. They started making mobster films. So that's when the mobster film became prominent. And so was the first ever pulp magazine. Now, do you know much about pulp magazines, Daniel?
I am clueless.
Okay, pulp magazines was a really cheap paper. It was the cheapest paper that a printing company, like when you go in and you want to order something and you wanted to be the editor, all right, what's your cheapest paper? What's your cheapest ink? What's your cheapest whatever? I just want to print this. And that was pulp. And it was.
So is this like the kind of paper when I was in elementary school where we would take and we would blend a bunch of like old paper together and then use like a glue or something to make pulp paper?
That's construction paper. Think about that, but kind of thinner, but only just like a yellow color. That's pretty much, yeah. It was cheap. It was like 5-10 cents just for a buck. It was really bad. But so that was kind of the first thing that we started seeing coming out of this. And it was very cheap comic book paper. It was a cheap way to make a comic book. And so we had the first ever, we had Dick Tracy, mobster, get the connection there. And we had the rise of the famous Shadow, the Shadow Nose. Look at that Dick Tracy right there, man. I mean, it's funny, Dan. When you think about Dick Tracy, you go
yellow trench coat,
dude. But he was, and you think about where we are today. What do we have on our wrist today, Dan, that was spawned from Dick Tracy?
What do we have on our wrists?
Yeah.
Oh, what, the watch?
The iWatch, the intelligent watch.
Yeah.
And it was all like spawned from Dick Tracy being able to talk on his watch at real time back to headquarters and, send and receive messages and talk back to his boss and stuff. And now we're living in an era where not only is that true, we can communicate on our wrists, but we can actually see in real time and do like FaceTime phone calls and all kinds of crazy stuff that even beyond Dick Tracy. We're talking about Star Trek kind of stuff. So,
oh yeah, or James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, look at these old pulp mags, man. That is just that's old school. That's like early 30s, mid 30s probably. And but we're getting in, comics kind of became a fast form of entertainment in the 30s. So the Great Depression happened, prohibition's going on, mobsters on the scene, we're about to go to war with Germany, and comics kind of become an easy way to escape the craziness that was going on in the day-to-day. So kind of newspapers capitalized on that, and they kind of started introducing Dick Tracy and all these guys. And pretty much the story writers of those times would literally rip the ideas straight from the headlines. If they would pick up the paper and they see the Chicago Sun-Tribune, they'd be like, mobster Al Capone has been caught again in his crony of 5 guys or whatever the headline was. They'd write a comic story about it, base it on that, and bam, they sent it out to the printing presses. And so 10-cent comics were a big thing because you could go to the movies for 10 cents.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to the soda shop for 10 cents, or you can buy a comic for 10 cents. And it's a form of entertainment. It's so weird.
Or you can get yourself a Coca-Cola.
A nice cold Coca-Cola float down at the old drugstore. But I digress. But, comics, they were kind of engaging. They were colorful and they were pretty well written. But something really happened in the late 30s that kind of really set America on a downward slope. And we're talking about World War II. And it was pretty crazy. America had just entered another war, and the comics during the time, they were just uttering the chaos, the economic collapse, the corruption, and the bloody war conflicts. And America at that time, we were reading these headlines, so many died on the battlefield. And, and you would hear this, America needed a way to escape.
Yep.
They needed.
I mean, every woman in America was afraid to get that letter.
Exactly.
Telling them that their husband or son has died. And not only that with comic books, but we also got Looney Tunes.
Yeah, absolutely. Looney Tunes.
They were a great, they had a lot of references to World War II during that time. Just another, that was your moving comic book at that time.
It's actually really cool that you mentioned that, because that's one I didn't even put on my radar, was Looney Tunes.
Yeah, they were huge. I mean,
yeah,
I love Looney Tunes, man.
Well,
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, America needed a face. They needed to escape all of this that's going on. And so they looked to one guy, Joel Schuster, come up with the idea, and Mr. Siegel, and they made what we call today the Man of Steel. And Action
Comics, baby.
Yes, look at that, the Man of Steel. And that's actually not the original Man of Steel, but that's the Superman that we know and love today.
I remember the cover like being old school, and he's like holding a Volkswagen looking car up in the air.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's old school, man. And I actually have a reprint of that one. Look at that one.
That one. Yeah, there it is.
See it.
Yep.
Look at the print on that. June 1938.
Wow.
America was just about to go to war, and on the scene comes a voice for the American population. Young kids could be inspired by the Man of Steel. A man that could just jump, fly, X-ray, vision, see through walls, laser vision, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
and it's funny too, because like you said, Superman, he was given almost every power you could think of. And today you have a lot of people who are like, oh, well, Superman could do too much. Mm-hmm. Superman is just overpowered.
Yeah.
And I I loved how, in just to tie into last week's episode with the Batman versus Superman, how everybody in that movie, he was a god. He was looked at as a god. There were people touching him and bowing down to him. And it's, it's just funny because everyone's saying he's so overpowered. And it's like, no, it was just because he was the first. And it's like they wanted to create this better being to maybe bring out, even though he was from Krypton, it seemed like we needed something bigger to look towards, something to give us a little inspiration, a little bit of hope. And that's why Superman was so super.
Yeah. And exactly. And basically Superman was kind of, when America needed someone that would stand for truth and justice. And back then you had the mob and the beginning phases of the early mafia and all that stuff going on. And America needed that voice. And so back at the time, Marvel Comics also began to, this is when, DC came first. All right, we're talking golden age. Then Marvel Comics released their first edition of Captain America #1. And it was one of the most iconic covers. I don't want to say more iconic than the Action Comics #1, but it was pretty awesome. And it shows Captain America literally doing a fist jab to Adolf Hitler right on the front.
Yeah. And that's awesome.
And it was pretty crazy. Look at that. There it is.
Socking Hitler right in the face.
I mean, one of the most iconic Captain America. I mean, you just think about it. And look, there's Bucky on the front. Bucky Barnes. He goes back even all the way back to then. Wow.
That's great. Yeah, that is really cool.
So, yeah, I mean, we saw the rise of so many great things. And also, let's not forget, Doc Savage came on the scene. We had the Phantom. We had the Shadow. We had Famous Funnies, which spawned Famous Funnies was kind of, I know I'm going quick, but Famous Funnies was kind of the one you would get in the newspaper.
Now, is
little strips. Go ahead.
Well, just one quick question about the Shadow. Now, is this the same Shadow that Liam Neeson did the movie about?
It is. Yeah, the same Shadow. He started out as a little comic strip in a newspaper that would come out once a week.
Okay.
Then he moved up to a pulp magazine, and it would be more of the story in about a 20-page format. Then from there, when radio came on the scene, we had Franklin Delano Roosevelt doing his fireside chats. And then right after that, stay tuned, the Shadow's coming. And so everybody would tune in around the radio and listen to the Shadow. And that's when you had the voice actors, and they would do the stomping effects and all that cool stuff back in the day, the golden age of radio.
Yeah. That's when radio was I see now. That's what I love, because I actually have these 3 radio dramas, Star Wars radio dramas, and they're awesome.
Did Mark Hamill do one of those?
Yeah, he was involved in the first 2, I think.
I remember that. Yeah. But look, you see this picture here. Look at that. They're just
If you watch, if you guys were to watch Christmas Story, like everybody does all day on Christmas, 24/7. 24 hours all day. You get to see them when he gets to jump in and watch his favorite radio program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, like I said, I mean, it's really amazing. And you would hear Americans were so connected back in the day. You had a president that would get on once a week and do his fireside chats with the families and actually talk to them and tell them, hey, this is what's going on in Washington. I'm a part of your life. You're a part of my life. And it's almost like a reflective, retrospective look back on America in the golden age. And the families would connect. And you see families today, everybody's on iPads and all this stuff. This was the iPad of the 1930s and 40s, the radio. Such a huge piece of technology that came on. But also with the rise of World War II, in 1939, America was heading back into battle. And unfortunately, that was an era of history that was capitalized. And like I said, Captain America of Marvel Comics, he came on the scene in 1941. And that's 2 years after we went to war. And he's Captain America. He know his slogan. He stood for truth and justice and all that. And which in many ways his arch enemies also were Nazis, of course. It makes sense. American fighting Nazis in the Nazi war.
Yeah.
Captain America on the front line. And it's pretty amazing when you step back and you look at comics and how they've evolved from mobsters to from the Great Depression to Prohibition to mobster scene to pulp comic. And this is the golden age. This is what really spawned some of those iconic characters that we love and know today. And that's right. Before DC Comics was All American Comics. You're absolutely correct. Over in the chat room there, we got some commentary coming in. But Dan, I think what we're going to do with this series, and I want to let everybody know, it's not going to be me just kind of teaching you guys about the history of comics, but we're actually going to share some stuff too about our own personal experiences with comics.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to kind of go into now. But we're going to do a part 2 to this. Not next week or not maybe next month or maybe the month after that. But part 2 is actually going to be the Jewish influence on the comic industry and how the Jewish immigrants pretty much shaped every facet of the comic book industry today that we know and love. So that's going to be part 2, is the Jewish influence. And so we'll be heading into that on part 2. But Dan, you had talked to you earlier about how you wasn't so much into comics first, but you actually got the film love and then you went to comics. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
So I wouldn't say that necessarily it was like just the film love, but when I was a kid, I had a friend named Pat, and he got me into, I mean, I was always a video game nut. So we were really good friends with our video games and hung out all the time. And we went down to this comic book shop all the time called Claude's Comics. I was in Hatboro, a town in Pennsylvania, and we would hang out there. The guy always had his black lab hanging out in the comic book shop. I mainly went with him just because I loved the dog so much. He was huge in the comic books, my buddy. And I always liked Spider-Man. I thought Spider-Man was so cool. I thought that was really awesome that you said your first comic book was the Spectacular Spider-Man, because my first series that I actually kind of read that my buddy Pat introduced me to was the Maximum Carnage series.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that dude was a psychopath, and he was awesome. And I really did love that series. I mean, I got introduced to Venom. I got introduced to Black Suit Spider-Man. That's what really drew me into Spider-Man's lore and everything that he was about. But I never got into comic books and just tried to get everything I could get my hands on. It was only in my later years now, in my late 20s, now in my 30s, to where Star Wars has always been something I hold very dear to me. I just got my Blu-ray today in the mail from Target, all the bonus footage. But I just want to say that since Disney bought the franchise, they put out all of this new content, all of these new novels and comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? This is the best opportunity for me to check this out. And George Lucas always said, Star Wars is meant to be seen, not read.
Mm.
And with comic books, you're getting that. You're getting the visuals and you're getting dialogue just like you would in a movie. It's not reading a novel and having to have everything broken down to you in a literary sense. You're getting just these beautiful pictures and artwork and great dialogue thrown at you, and it's basically a still frame movie.
Mm. And the artwork is great. So amazing. The artwork on those.
Yeah. It is. I've been actually my favorite one so far is the series that they've been putting out for Star Wars has been the Obi-Wan and Anakin comics. The artwork in that is, I don't know what it is about it, but I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
But also the story has just been great. And along with that, going to the comic book shop every day to pick up my comics, I got into the Secret Wars that came out this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then that really just kind of created this spider web of me picking up Batman Beyond. And now I just picked up Hyperion issue #1 because I love this Squadron Sinister.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Marvel's version of a bad Superman and bad Batman. It's like their alternate reality of a mean criminal type Justice League. Even though they're not criminals, they're more like they just do what they need to do to get the job done. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been loving how, and just the feel of going to the comic book shop. It's just got this really cool, just great feel. I don't know. I love it. And now a new one that I've actually been picking up is called Saga. It's basically a Romeo and Juliet type Star Wars story. I mean, that's what I was told. This is it's like a space drama, but Romeo and Juliet like. And I just picked it up. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I was told by a bunch of people, you need to read this. So I'm going to get on it. And like I said, I've been now it's a regular thing for me to go every Wednesday and grab what I want.
Exactly. And isn't there just something kind of inspiring, holding a comic book in your hand and flipping the pages, the smell of the comic, just the feeling of the texture of the pages, and knowing that someone behind a desk hand drew all this?
Yeah, and that's why it's tough for me. I know that everything's going digital, and I know that you can have your Comixology account or your Marvel Unlimited account or whatever DC's got going on. I don't know, forgive me, but you can get these through your iPad or your Galaxy Note or whatever, and you can flip them or set them to their own little scroll pattern. But it doesn't feel the same. I've done it. I even put it on my 55-inch TV, and it looks great, and I love the way it scrolls through. But nothing beats. It's just like reading a good book. Nothing beats being able to turn those pages, and I feel like you're more engaged.
Yeah,
when you have that physical copy in your hands.
Well, for me, to share my little bit of a story, and Dan, yours kind of reflects a little bit of mine as well. For me, the first time I was ever exposed to any kind of comic book character was the Incredible Hulk. Lou Ferrigno. Saturday mornings, we got to see him just Hulk out in all of his green glory and all that green paint that he had to go put on. Secondly, though, was the Superman, Christopher Reeve. 1978's Superman, the classic movie. And I remember
one of the best scores ever written.
John Williams. Oh my gosh. And but before I go into my spiel, should we have a moment of silence for one of the Star Wars legends who's passed away?
Yes, I don't have his name actually pulled up right now. Forgive me, but
I'm sorry. I just caught you off guard on that. That's my fault.
It's okay. It was Admiral Akbar, the voice actor for Admiral Akbar. He was 93 years old. And he passed away. He also did another voice in Star Wars, the movie. Man, you did. Hold on one second. It'll take me 1 minute to pull up this guy's name because it's been all over the place.
Eric Bowersfeld.
Exactly, and he was also the other character. He was in Star Wars. I can't think about it, but it's definitely a sad moment.
So the famous line, "It's a trap."
Yeah. Now he's done.
God rest his soul. And
93 years old though,
he
right?
lived a fruitful life, dude. And his legacy is forever as General Akbar, hands down. And we also want to make mention that Mr. Merle Haggard passed away as well today. So, country legend. But also, kind of get back into my story. So I saw Christopher Reeve and Lou Ferrigno, and my dad kind of saw that I was taking interest to that. As I would come home and literally replay Superman over and over and over again on VHS.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, okay, maybe this kid's got an interest in something, so I'm going to go pick him up a couple of comic books. He picked me up Spectacular Spider-Man number 157, the Spectacular Spidey Goes Cosmic. So Spidey gets this cosmic radiation that enhances his Spider-Man capabilities.
Oh,
yeah. He's on the cover, and he's just kind of, and there's radiating light.
Is this the comic book that eventually he starts growing extra arms?
That's a side story out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's trying to figure out a way to deal with this extra power, and it enhances his DNA and makes him go crazy. And he starts sprouting arms and becoming an arachnid. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And then the other one was Donald Duck, number 16 from Walt Disney.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that was my first two comics, and I read those and I loved them, and I still actually have those two comics to this day. They're not in pristine condition. They're not, they got coffee stains and Cheeto finger hands all over the papers and stuff like that.
That means they were used properly.
Yeah, exactly. But like you, Dan, my first exposure to comics come from film, which inspired me and my father to go out and actually purchase a few books for me. And when I started getting into the stories, I was like, hey, Dad, when you go to the grocery store, can you pick me up the next issue? Because I want to see what happens to Spidey. And he would do it. It's just about a buck back in the day. Comics now are like $4 a piece. Can you imagine paying $1 for a comic book back then?
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, that does kind of drive me nuts. How you've got Marvel's comics are usually like they're what $4.99 to $3.99,
$4.99. Yeah,
but DC's are always $2.99. They're $1 cheaper.
Yeah, I don't understand why that is. Does DC do the digital code?
I actually don't know, but you know what? That's a good point.
That might be why they're $1 difference, because you get the digital
good
code.
Point. Yeah.
But so that spawned my entire launch into comic. Then I started discovering what DC was about. I started diving into detective comics, Batman and Robin. And then one day my dad came home. I remember it was 1986 Christmas. And he's like, here, son, here is an early Christmas gift for you. And he lays it down in front of me. And it's Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns graphic novel, issue number 1.
Oh, man.
And we all know that that's the movie that spawned, that's the comic that spawned the movie that we just saw a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my influence in comics, and it pretty much made a nerd out of me because I wanted to draw. Then I was like, oh man, I want to draw Spider-Man. I wonder if I could do this, and I wonder if I could do that. And then that's when I started discovering that I had a drawing ability, and it kind of spawned out of control, and I started drawing all kinds of crazy things, and I still draw today.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's why we're here. We're doing PopX, and it's a reflection of who we are, where we've come, and where we're going. And when you think about comic books, it's very much intertwined into the fabric of who we are as podcasters. And but we're going to open the window up if anybody wants to call in and share some of their moments from their first comic or their first exposure to a comic book character, whether it's in film or a comic or a magazine or whatever. We'd love to hear from you and share your story, because I think it's important when you talk about the history and you kind of lay these foundations and you get that connection and you get that tie-in. I know Red 5 Mom said she had a story that she wanted to tell. And then I know Real TLN, he's got some stuff he wants to say. And maybe Gonzo or somebody else can call in and share some information as well. But don't leave me hanging here, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and while we're waiting, I just wanted to show everybody what I picked up today.
What'd you get?
Today was New Comic Book Day, so
It was
I mean,
Wednesday.
exactly. So what I picked up today was actually Poe Dameron, issue number 1.
Oh,
the
snap.
the best fighter pilot in the galaxy. And look at this cover. Doesn't this have a Top Gun feel to it?
It kind of looks retro 80s.
Isn't that Top Gun?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's awesome.
It is gorgeous.
And I did read it today, and it's set right before he finds Lor Santeca on Jakku.
Okay.
So this is I think this is a comic book series leading up to the beginning of the Force Awakens. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's really exciting.
What's going on, man?
How's it going, guys? Enjoying the show?
Man.
It's awesome.
Thank you. So
I'm the old geezer of the bunch. So
you're not old, man. If you're enjoying comics,
I started in the comic stuff with back in the 1970s,
Mhm.
and when I first started getting comics, we were poor. So, in fact, I used to have the Empire Strikes Back graphic novel. In fact, they had an enlarged version that was almost like 20 by 30. It was amazing. It was beautiful. But comics is kind of what got me into art as well. That and Star Wars. So when I started with comics, I used to, copy them and trace them. And when I used to do homework, I used to doodle Spider-Man on the corners of the homework. And eventually that became my influence to become an artist, which then I studied both in High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, and then growing into working for Marvel and DC.
Wait. You worked for Marvel and DC?
Briefly, yes, until they weren't able to pay enough.
What?
When I grew up in the comic book world, going into the world of comics, is when the chaos of comic books started happening. So there's a lot of stories that I'll be sharing with artists on my podcast on the Lounge Network. But I grew up in a world where I started doing graphic novels, painted graphic novels, or fully oil illustrated. And everybody in Marvel, all the artists started getting fired. And that's when Marvel was going bankrupt. And
isn't that when they fired Stan Lee as well?
What was that?
Isn't that when they fired Stan Lee as well from Marvel as CEO?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, I was friends with Joe Quesada, who's now the editor-in-chief.
Whoa.
But in that's also the time period when independent comics were starting to grow.
IDW, Black Horse,
right? And along with McFarlane and Image Comics,
Image
and
Comics,
the whole separation.
Yeah.
And it was in the art world, it was a war. I mean, everything was chaotic. Jobs were chaotic. Getting work and getting paid for work was chaotic. And but being able to reminisce and look back, it was an interesting time period, especially knowing what the results are now. If not for Marvel almost going bankrupt, we wouldn't have the films that we have today.
Wow.
So at the time is when this big movie producer guy came in and saved Marvel and bought them, and they continued doing comics, but with a fairly new staff. And at the same time, Image Comics was being formed, and all the big artists from Marvel had moved into DC. I'm sorry, not to DC, but to Image. And they were creating their own world of how they were releasing comics.
Yeah,
it wasn't monthly; it was like bi-monthly, or whenever they felt like it.
Spawn,
and so
Savage
it was very chaotic at the time.
Spawn, love them.
Love me some Spawn.
And so that's why I ended up going into record labels and doing all other kinds of illustration, and made a livelihood of that, as well as working in film.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, Carlos, but do you have any artwork that you can show that's comic book themed, or?
I mean, I don't, because I moved from Atlanta, New York, and all my artwork is in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
I have stuff on my iPad, but I think I've shown you that stuff before.
Yeah, you've shown me a lot of your stuff, and it's oil painting, correct?
Yeah.
So it's not just like hand drawing and inking. It's full on three.
Yeah, I never did comic
oil.
book. I mean, when I was a kid, I did comic book drawings, but when I got into the actual world of comics, it was strictly oil painting.
Wow. And I've seen your stuff, and it's carlosphoenix.com, correct?
That's my current site. Thank you.
Okay.
And I didn't see you did that, but thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, carlsphoenix.com. That's just something I put together a few months ago when I was looking for work. And
That's so cool.
I had left the art field simply because of a car accident, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And so I haven't done an illustration in a while, but
that's awesome, dude. Do you now? You're still not connected with the comic industry, right? You just do everything freelance now, or?
Well, I mean, everything's always freelance with comic books, as far as
that's true.
As far as I was concerned. But yeah, I mean, my connection is basically all my friends who still work in the industry.
Okay, I got you.
So Bill Tucci, for example, he does a lot of Marvel stuff. He has his own comic book company, Crusade Comics, and the She character.
All right.
Does this look familiar?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's in black and white on my end.
Yeah, I did. Here, hold on. Let's
That's gorgeous though. Oh.
Yeah, I remember you showing me this, Carlos, a little while back. You were showing me this one. I had this on my computer already.
Dude.
Oh, thanks. Well, there's a couple of funny stories out of that. One, that's me when I was like 25.
You painted that when you were 25?
Well, that was me posing in my painting when I was 25.
Yeah, that was, yep.
You're that muscular?
You that too.
Well, yeah, it was. So I grew up in
I'm just messing with you, man.
I grew up in the world of Boris Vallejo. I don't know if you know who that artist is.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard of the name.
So he's a very big fantasy artist. And I grew up with his son. We went to college together. And so part of the strategy as we were learning how to paint was the only way to get models was to actually be in bodybuilding. So that the bodybuilders that were all beef and buff can pose for you. And you were just as buff as they were, so it wasn't uncomfortable.
Okay.
This would be a good way to be able to get like good muscular structure onto paper.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, yeah. So all the paintings that we do, we actually had models for.
Okay.
Would you photograph them in a pose and then take that photograph and paint it into canvas, or?
Right, or they would pose for a few hours until we got the sketch down and that type of thing.
Wow, dude, that's amazing. That is amazing. And some of your artwork is on your website, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Sketches, paintings, that type of thing.
That is awesome, dude.
When you modeled for this picture, were you kind of like Rose on the Titanic and Jack was drawing you?
What, did you throw over the pearl?
Well, I had a buddy of mine do the photograph. But so the second funny story on that is I had just finished doing some stuff for Warner Brothers for one of the Batman movies.
Uh-huh.
And what we're doing is we're doing illustrations for this is like the worst. It was a Batman movie that had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Oh, the Joel Schumacher Batman.
Yeah, and we had a Jim Carrey and stuff like that. So we did, I think, me and a friend of mine did about 11 or 12 paintings. All of which paid approximately $150,000 or so.
Okay.
And for about 3 months worth of work.
Okay.
But the great thing about that is that we had all access to all the behind the scenes, every prop, everything, as they're still shooting the movie.
Wow.
But all the stuff that we painted was for like toy boxes and puzzles and all that type of stuff that they sold when the movie was released.
Like action figure cards and stuff?
Any of the artwork.
Okay.
So we can't sign it. We can't say we did it or anything.
Did you do like action figure cards?
Not cards. No, we did the actual paintings that were on the action figure boxes.
Did you do any of the artwork for Magic? The Gathering?
I've done some Magic artwork, but not for the cards.
Okay. I saw, because I'm looking, as I was looking on your page, I saw some, I play Magic. I love it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love some of the pictures that are drawn on the Magic cards.
So on Acclaim Comics had bought the rights or were part of the whole Magic world.
Okay.
And so they had released Magic comic books based on the characters on the cards. And so they had hired me to do some illustrations based on battle scenes that you would have playing with the cards and what it would look like in real life. So there's a couple of paintings that have scenes that occur either as a battle scene or as doing a combo play and what the two cards would be, and you'd get to see what it would look like visually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get exactly what you're saying. That's awesome.
So there's one that has the eggs on the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
So those are rook eggs, and I forget the name of the blade, but the idea is that you would use both cards. The knife can kill anything and would take the life and give that life to you as power. But those eggs would also be eggs that come back to life as full adults, and you can build an army with them.
I just happened to pull
the
this one
combo
up.
move would be.
Oh, we got the same one, Dan.
Look at that. Boom. Look at how
So,
good we are.
so the idea is that you would kill the eggs that were your own eggs because they had a small defense. You would absorb their life, so you become a lot stronger. But then you have an army of those eggs come back to life as full powered.
Yeah. You know what? That is actually exactly how magic works, man. I love it. That is great. Yeah, that's so cool.
By the way, that was not planned with Dan and I on loading it at the same time. We had no idea. Funny. That was a cool PopX moment.
And no, Anna, that was not me. I was lying.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, I'll let somebody else chat about their experiences. Well, it was good talking to you guys.
You're welcome on here anytime. We'll see you on the web, dude. Thanks, Carlos.
Take care.
That was great, man.
Awesome, man. And that's carlosphoenix.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. And he's got all kinds of cool stuff posted over on his website. And we got Red 5 Mom, Miss Devin, coming in. Going to be hanging out.
You can also find him at REALTLN, Real, the Lounge Network.
The Real Lounge Network. What's up, Devin?
Hey.
How are you?
So, comic books. Yes. While you guys were talking, I was just thinking, because I remember I mentioned earlier that when my parents would take us camping when I was a kid, we always got to go and pick comic books for the long drive.
Oh, nice.
And I remember that I always picked Archie and Superman. And then I was thinking, but I also would read Uncle Scrooge and Richie Rich. Those are some favorites of ours.
How can Archie eat so many hamburgers? You know, that's all that dude does, eat hamburgers.
I still wanted an Archie and Batman
that
crossover.
Wasn't Archie, that was Jughead. Jughead ate the hamburgers.
Yeah. Oh, see?
Yeah. You're not an Archie fan.
No, I'm not.
Popeye. Remember Wimpy from Popeye?
So the covers, the covers would get lost because I would just read them over and over again.
Yeah.
And they would get, tattered and torn and earmarked and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, dog ear and comic books. Oh, man. Every librarian's worst nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And then in my 20s, I got introduced to Wolverine and Thor from a then boyfriend. And so that was sort of I was never a purist DC or Marvel. I like them both.
Yeah, I hear you.
Same. Yeah.
Me too, yep.
So but the coolest thing that happened to me on Twitter not too long ago, and I'll see if I can pop this up.
Oh,
you can see that. Mark Hamill is a fan of Archie, and I saw that he had that cover made to look like Archie as Luke in A New Hope. And so I commented on it, and he favorited it. So that was one of my prized possessions.
Oh, that's definitely screen catcher print worthy right there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
That is great.
Oh, man.
So I thought that was pretty
Mark
cool.
Hamill.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Mark Hamill, Devin, you know how he is just so connected to comics as well, whether it's Archie or the Joker. He's voiced the Joker for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Going
a long
on?
time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and he played as a trickster in The Flash in the 90s, and he's trickster in the new Flash series on the CW.
New Flash.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was actually good seeing him in that first season.
His voice. Oh my
God.
gosh.
he did a lot of callbacks, like I Am Your Father. Remember that?
I am your father.
And he did kind of have that voice every now and then. If you noticed in the Flash, he did bust out the Joker voice. You could hear it a little bit every now and then. It was
Just
great.
a little, yeah.
Yeah.
I really
love
enjoyed
it.
that episode. It was a good one.
Wasn't
But that
he
was,
in,
I've always enjoyed comic books. Always. Go ahead. Sorry, Daniel.
No, it's I just Mark Hamill. Wasn't he in that movie with all the little blonde-haired kids, like in the town, and he was like the priest? I can't.
Are you talking about Children of the Corn?
No. I don't think it was Children of the Corn. It was another movie. I think it was
Reeve, wasn't it?
I thought it was Village of the Damned or something like that.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Never mind. Anyway.
Well, speaking of Mark Hamill, he's actually coming back again as the Joker in a brand new animated DC cartoon movie. It's going to be released on Blu-ray and DVD. It's The Killing Joke, and it's the whole story behind the Joker and the Batman and that whole series of comics, The Killing Joke, the famous cover where he's got the camera up. It is, he's like filming with the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
that
going to
be
be cool
awesome.
to see him. Yeah, it's supposed to be a darker Joker than we're used to. So.
Well, he'll be able to pull it off.
Well, he is Mark
awesome
Hamill, so he's a man of many talents. But pretty awesome.
He is.
But
well, that was my comic book story. I didn't, other than and I'm mostly reading Star Wars ones right now.
Yeah. You got to get on that Poe Dameron. It's awesome.
Awesome.
I will be.
You catching up on that jet lag?
Oh, not yet. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
She's a little tired. Yeah, look at her. She's like, I'm exhausted.
I'm half asleep. But I stayed up for PopXcast tonight. See, I didn't even say that right. I'm so punchy.
It's okay.
I just want to say while you're on the cam, sweetheart, and you're on the record, that thank you so much for all your support.
Definitely.
Everything that you do, your retweets, your favorites, your likes, your shares. You're a true rock star in the PopX culture.
Oh yeah.
Hey, but I won.
It didn't route to you.
Did you sign it? You better have signed it.
Of course I signed it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't wait to get it.
All right. Well, you have a blessed night, my dear.
You too. Good to see you all.
All right. You too, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye, hon.
And you guys, you can find her too. She has a great blog.
I can't turn me off. You got to do it.
I got you, baby. I got you. At Red5Mom. Check her out on the Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Check her out. She's got some cool blog stuff too. I think it's red5mom.com, and it's good stuff.
Dan, I think we're almost getting ready to wrap it up, man. Do you believe it? Look at that. An hour has come and gone, and just like that, it's crazy how time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, because comic books is great. Everybody loves a good comic book. And I love how it's almost like there is one for everyone. I actually Image Comics. I was in this one comic book shop called Cyborg One right up by my town, and Image had a comic book series called Rebels, like actually Revolutionary War Rebels comic books. It's a comic book series about the Revolutionary War, and I'm gonna buy it up because I love the Revolutionary War. So I'm gonna see how it is, but I just it's great that if you're interested, you can find a comic book that will catch you, and draw you in.
Whether you're like Archie, Star Wars, The Incredible Hulk, or Batman and Superman.
Yep.
There's something there for everybody, and then there's stuff in between. Like you said, the Revolutionary War. Who would have thought that you can make a comic book about the Revolutionary War?
That's what I said, and I was like blown away by it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out. So
you'll have to let me know how it is. And that's by what is the comic?
I think it's Image that are the ones that put it out. So
they got a great line of comics right now. They're doing so well.
Yeah. They definitely bring out some darker stuff. There was another comic book series that I was reading called Southern Bastards, and it's pretty brutal, but it's got a good story, and I've been really enjoying it. So,
well, guys, if you enjoyed tonight's conversation, and maybe as you've been hearing Dan and I talk and our guests, maybe something is sparked in your mind, a memory or a good moment when you were flipping through the pages of an old comic, and you were brought back to a happier time and a good time We want to know about that. Go over to our Facebook, our Twitter, or you can actually leave us a comment and call right on our PopX hotline. And that is right, guys. We do have the hotline. It is 850-417-PopX. And for you guys that don't know what the numbers are, it's 850-417-7679. Leave us a note, and we'll play your message on next week's episode. We promise. But we want to hear what is your comic book memory? What has inspired you, and where are you today in the world of comics? Are you enjoying what we're seeing on the silver screen, or are you diving back into something new or something old? We want to know about it. But Dan, man, how can they follow us on the social internets? How can they get connected with us?
Well, I mean, we've got it all going down, right? You can email us at popxcast@gmail.com. You can go to our website, www.popxcast.com. There you will find us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. We have got it all going on. Also, we have a swag store where you can get some sweet gear. Joe's wearing one of our awesome t-shirts right now, and he's also drinking out of one of our mugs. This dude is swagged up. And also, Lindsay in the chat room here, she's always sporting the PopXcast gear. I have yet to get mine because, funds.
She actually went to a medieval fair this past weekend and wore her PopX hat.
Oh yeah, nice.
That's so
dedication.
Cool.
That is dedication.
So cool. Yeah.
I think I actually saw that in a Snapchat. Great.
Probably did.
But yeah, we're everywhere. Excuse me. We are everywhere, and PopX, it's coming at you. So come get us.
Yeah. And next week, guys, you're going to be blown away. And when I say this, I mean this. We're going to be having Retro Blasting on. Now, if you have no idea who these guys are, get ready for it. They're out of Marietta, Georgia, and they are kind of Comic Con royalty. They attend a lot of cons, especially on the Eastern Seaboard. They specialize in retro 80s video game and toy restoration. You heard me right. Retroblasting.com. Check them out. But we will have the dynamic duo, the husband and wife restoring duo, on this show next week. And it's awesome. I was going through watching today. He actually restored, Dan, an entire Castle Grayskull set from scratch, from the ground up.
Nice.
The whole video, how he done it, where he got the parts, how he recreated the stickers. They do everything from like Star Wars, the old Kenner Star Wars. He actually reseals them and repackages them and redoes everything like it's mint condition. No Amazing way. What he does.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't think none of it's 3D printed. I think he actually just finds the action figures that are in pristine condition and cleans them up and restores them. And that's what he does. It's pretty cool. So we'll have him on board next week, episode 11 of PopX. But I think that's a wrap, Dan.
I think that's a wrap. I think that's a bacon ranchero wrap. We're good to go. And I'm hungry.
Bacon ranchero, that sounds so freaking good right now.
I know. I'm so
You're killing me, man. All right, guys. From all of us here at PopX, you know what? Stay geeky, get your nerd on, and don't do anything we wouldn't do.
And remember, pick up a comic book every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, Comic Book Day. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Later.
From everyone at PopXcast, thanks for listening. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating over on iTunes and subscribe for more great content. Drop us an email, popxcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blab, and YouTube at PopXcast. Get your geek on.